Aloha mai kākou e nā hoa haumana o ka papa o lelo Hawai'i o Kulāiwi. Welcome. This is the 20th in a series of 24 Hawaiian language lessons o e kelakani aupi o Crozier ko uinoa a o ke kumu no ke ia papa o lelo Hawai'i. Okay, let's go back to watching Kunani move into the dorm with his friends Kalama and Keawe. And pay attention to what's being said. If you watched the last lesson, then you should be clear on a lot of things that's been going on. But if not, a'ole pilikia, because we'll go through it again and we'll clear it up, okay? And hopefully we'll make sense of what you're seeing. Hikido? So if you're makoko, I makoko. And noho ilalo, nenea, and enjoy. Ahui hope.
E, aloha mai e kalama.
E kunare, e noho anoa I ke ia hale.
Ai, ka nani o ke ia hale. Pea, ua ike oi kou lumi.
Ole, e hele ana o I ke ia manawa. E hele puka ua.
Pono wau e kali a Keawe. Oia ko uhoa lumi.
O Keawe, mai maui.
Ai, oia no. Pea, kama aina oi aia.
E, kama aina ui ai, no ka mea. Ua paani popeku kana ki me I ka uki me. Kanaka ho'o make aka loa oia.
A aka mai loa oia ke kahi.
Oia ka?
Ai.
Mana o au pololi wale no oia.
Ai, aka mai oia I ka make makika. Ina he piliki a ko kua oia ia oe.
Mai ka ike la, no ka mea, nui ko pilikia makapapa maki makika. Maki maki au I ke kokua. E ke kahi, o kona kaikua ana, oia ka ukumu pilika naka. Kula ki eki e o anue noe.
O moke.
Ea. Pehe oi ka maaina ai Keawe.
Ua hele mau I ka punana leo like. A maope I kona noho ana ma maui, ki pa mau ko ohana I kona ohana mao. No leila, ano pili maua. Pea, o vai kou hoa lumi.
Ole au ike, lohe au he kanaka ho'okani pila oia. O uluwehi, kona inua.
Uluwehi o vai. Hele oia ki kula kaya puni hea.
Ole oia I hele ki kula kaya puni. He makua oia. Hele oia I manoa e a o I ka olelo Hawai'i.
E aha, he makua oia. A e noho ana oia makahale noho hao mana.
Ai, maki oia e hao pono I ka olelo makua hile.
Maika I ke la. Aue, e noho ana oia me ka makua. Aloha ino oia.
Yeah. Ole pilikia.
Aloha mai. Kala mai. Lohi au. O hele o I ka hale ku'ai.
Aue, Keawe, he hake nā mau mea.
O ke ia ka umea ai mama. Ike oi. Pono o e mālama I ku'u kino ika.
Aue, hau oliva o wau ko hoa lumi. Kama aina oe I a kalama.
Ai, aloha. Pehe oi.
Oia mau no. O oi.
Makaukau no o ma ke kula. A me na wahine ui.
Pono oe ho o paa haa vina.
Mai e hopo. O ka mea mua. Aia mahea ka lumi kuke.
Ale wau ike ua kali wau ia oe.
O lohe o nani loa na lumi ma ke ia hale.
Ai, ua lawe mai au I ka umau ki'i o ku Kulāiwi o Hilo.
O hilo I ka ua kani lewe.
Hilo hana kahi I ka ua kani lehua.
Ai, koha I ka makani, I ka makani a pa'a. Aloha mai?
Aloha.
E au, ko hoa lumi.
Aloha no.
Hey, Kino, Maikai. So is that better? Okay, sometimes you just need to see it again. What we are doing in today's lessons is going through, a review of those things that we covered from lessons 13 to 19, okay? Because we're halfway there, actually more than halfway there, and we might want to review some of the things that we've gone through. Okay, let's start first with the pattern that lets us say we're going to do something, okay, or someone is going to do something. In other words, the future tense, okay, e action ana. Okay, so let's begin with that. Let's take a look. E ha'awi ana oe I ka honu ia kau'i. E ha'awi ana oe I ka honu ia kau'i. Okay, kalamai, this is a question, so how should we say that? Okay, if you practiced, let's see if you got this right. E ha'awi ana oe I ka honu ia kau'i. E ha'awi ana oe I ka honu ia kau'i. Ai. Okay, so we see A action ana. What does that say? You're going to give a turtle to kau'i. Okay, and if you've been following us along, you remember then that in lesson 13, Kunane was going to buy a graduation gift for kau'i, and he checked out the honu, the turtles, yeah, and so this comes from that vignette. E ha'awi ana oe I ka honu ia kau'i. Okay, let's take a look at this part in pink, ia kau'i. Okay, just to make sure you remember, we have object markers, I and ia. In this case, we're using kau'i, which is a name. And so when a name is being used as the receiver of the action, in this case, it would be kau'i who would be receiving a honu, okay? Then we would mark it with ia, okay? So let's take a look. E ha'awi ana oe I ka honu ia kau'i. E hele ana o kau'i I ke kula, okay? Now we see kau'i being marked with an okina o. Okina o tells us that this is the subject. Now kau'i is the subject of this sentence, which says that kau'i is going to school, okay, or will be going to school. And you may be sitting there thinking, well, how do you know when it is going or will be going? Well, that's kind of contextual, okay? That's when you're listening to the conversation, you kind of figure out that within the context of your talk story or the mana'o of your talk story, it tells you whether it's going to happen or if it's happening at the moment. Okay, we're seeing kau'i being marked with okina o. That means we're marking the subject. When the subject is a name, okay, and when I refer to the subject, we're talking about the person who's doing the action. Okay, in this case, it's kau'i. So kau'i is going to school. We use okina o. E hele ana o kau'i I ke kula. But when kau'i was receiving the action, okay, on the other end, not the one who's doing it, but the one who's receiving the action, we saw her name being marked with ia. E ha'awi ana oe I ka honu ia kau'i. E ha'awi ana oe I ka honu ia kau'i. Ai? And you notice it was e ha'awi ana oe I ka honu, right? We marked the turtle ka honu with I, but we mark her name with ia. That's the difference between the two. Kahonu is what we call a common noun, which is just a thing, okay? And kau'i is considered a proper noun, like a name, okay? So I kahonu, ia kau'i. We got two objects actually in this sentence, okay? E ha'awi ana oe I kahonu ia kau'i. So those are the things that we need to watch, okay? The difference between I and ia. And then also the difference between when we use, when a name is being used as the subject, we always mark it with okina o. Ikino? Okay, let's take a look at our next one. E malama ana ka makuahine ia la ko. And here we have another example of when we use ia. Okay? In this case, la ko is referring to who? All of them. Maikai. Okay? And who's doing the action here? Remember that the person who's doing the action always follows the action. Okay? Because in Hawaiian, it goes action, subject, object, okay? Verb, subject, object, which means that the thing that they're doing is what's important, most important, and second to that is the person who does it, and the last thing that's important is what it's being done to, okay? So in this case, we're seeing the makuahine, kalamai, the mother is what? Taking care of them. E malama ana ka makuahine ia la ko. E malama ana ka makuahine ia la ko. Okay? So we're seeing ia la ko. Ikino? Okay? E malama ana ka makuahine ia la ko. Okay, the mother is taking care of them. What if it was the mother is taking care of the children? Okay, well, if we're going to say the children, then we have to change ia to I. Okay? Because now we're using kalamai. Now we're using the common noun. E malama ana ka makuahine I na keiki. I na keiki. Okay? The children. You know? Na, referring to the plural. Right? When we want to say the and make it plural, then we would use na. You know? E malama ana ka makuahine I na keiki. E mālama ana ka makuahine ina keiki. Okay, we want to just take a look at that. The difference between using ia and when we use e. Okay, remember, first it's the action. E mālama ana. Then the who. Ka makuahine. And who's she taking care of? Ina keiki. So if you remember it by chunks, by pieces, then it's not so overwhelming because sometimes, I know it's like a long sentence and you just think, oh my God, I'm never going to get through all of this, but take small bites so you don't choke, okay? E mālama ana ka makuahine ina keiki. Hiki no. We're on to a'ole, okay? Looking at how do you make stative sentences negative. Okay, now let's just take the word a'ole off. Let's make like it's not there and start with mai ka'i. Mai ka'i keia puke. Okay, mai ka'i keia puke. This book is good. Okay, well, if this book is not good, okay, all you do is put a'ole in front of it. So can you say a'ole mai ka'i? A'ole mai ka'i keia puke. This book is what? Not good. Okay? A'ole mai ka'i keia puke. Hikino? What if you were saying, I'm not good? Yeah. Somebody says, oh, pehea oi. Yeah. And you want to say back, I'm not good. Okay? A'ole mai ka'iau. Okay? A'ole mai ka'iau. Yeah? See how easy? Because mai ka'iau is I'm good, right? I'm fine. If I'm not fine, then it's a'ole mai ka'iau. So ma'alahi is so easy. You just stick the a'ole in the front and boom, you're there. Okay? Now, we hear this all the time. Pau kahana. Pau kahana. Okay? The work is what? Pau. Finished. Complete. Okay? Pau is finished, complete, ended. Okay? So, pau kahana. The work is pau. What if the work is not pau? Then it's a'ole pau kahana. A'ole pau kahana. Okay? Let's take a look. A'ole pau kahana. Hikino? Okay? A'ole pau kahana. So you see, the negative in this pattern is so easy. In fact, I'm not going to put a whole lot of examples of this because it's so simple. Okay? But I do want to say something about the word pau. And that's, pau is finished, complete. Okay? So you cannot say things like, Pauvo, okay, I'm Pau. If you Pau, you're lying down dead, okay, that's Pau, all right? Let's go on. Looking at negative in the A ana pattern, okay? We had this in our last lesson, and that was making the future tense negative. A'ole au e hele ana I ka pā'ina. A'ole au e hele ana I ka pā'ina. Okay, now the positive sentence of that regular sentence where you would say I'm going to the party would be e hele anau I ka pā'ina. E hele anau I ka pā'ina. In the negative, what are we seeing? The pronoun jump up in the front. Okay, we see au jump up because remember I told you that the pronouns are ni ele, they're nosy, so every time negative stuff go on, they pop up in the front to check it out. Okay. If there's no other way for you to remember this, I think that's one way for you to remember, okay? Is a'oleo e hele ana I ka pā'ina. See that? Oh, jump in the front. So remember, that's a basic rule. A'oleo e hele ana I ka pā'ina. When the subject is a pronoun, then we're going to see it jump up front. Now, we didn't have this one coming up, and this I was saving. We talked about pronoun subjects jumping up in front, but what if the subject is not a pronoun? Let's take a look. Inana kako. A'ole e ho'i ana ke kumu I ka hale. A'ole e ho'i ana ke kumu I ka hale. In this case, the teacher is not going to return to the house. A'ole e ho'i ana ke kumu I ka hale. Okay? And you see the position of this subject stays in the same place. Let's take a look at this without the word a'ole. Okay? And just e ho'i ana ke kumu I ka hale. E ho'i ana ke kumu I ka hale. Okay? that the teacher will be returning to the house. Okay? Well, the teacher will not be returning to the house. Simple. Just sticking a'ole on top of that. A'ole e ho'i ana ke kumu i ka hale. No moving around. Nothing's moving around. The only time you're going to see the subject move up in the front is when it's a pronoun. Okay? Other than that, it's going to stay right there. If it was Lani is not going to return to the house, a'ole e ho'i ana o Lani i ka hale. You see, the only time you're going to hear it pop up is if we're using one of the pronouns. Au, oi, oia, maua, kaua, laua, lako, kako, mako, all of those, okay? Any of those will pop up in the front, but anything else will stay in the back. Simple rule, okay? Right now we have a new pattern, okay? We went over the negative of the past tense where we saw ua turn to e and how we saw how that we make a action ana turn negative. Now we're going to see how do you make the present tense turn negative. Do you remember what the present tense was? It's ke action ne. Okay? So if I wanted to say, I'm teaching all of you right now. Okay? Ke a'o aku ne yau ya o ko ike imanava. Ke a'o aku, remember aku going away? My teaching is going this way, I hope. Okay? Ke a'o aku ne au ya o ko ike yamanava. I can make one hula. I am teaching all of you right now. Okay. Ke a'o aku ne au ya o ko ike yamanava. Okay. I am teaching all of you now. Okay. Ke action ne. What if I was eating lau lau right now? Ke ai ne yau ika lau lau ike yamanava. Okay. What if all of you are listening right now? What if, yeah? I should hope so. Okay. Ke ho'olohe ne o ko ike yamanava. Okay? Okay, ke action ne. That's the present tense. Now look what happens when we make it negative. Okay? Here we go. A'oleo e hele nei. A'oleo e hele nei. Okay, what does this say right now? Just this part. Okay? I'm not going, right? I am not going. And we see once again, nothing different in this negative pattern with the pronoun subject. It pops up in the front, just like the other. But what we see is ke ne turns to e ne, okay? Now this is not the same as the song, na 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 na, e ne. That's not the same as this e ne, okay? This is the present tense. And we're seeing ke turn to e in the negative, okay? A'oleo e hele ne I ka pa'ina, okay? So the regular sentence would be ke hele ne yau I ka pa'ina. Ke hele ne yau I ka pa'ina. I am not going to the party. A'oleo e hele ne I ka pa'ina. A'oleo e hele ne I ka pa'ina. Hikino? This is ke ne turning to e ne into the in the negative pattern. Okay, let's take a look at another example. A'ole e ho'i nei ke kumu. A'ole e ho'i nei ke kumu I ka hale. Okay, there it is. A'ole e ho'i nei ke kumu I ka hale. The teacher is not returning to the house. Now see the position of the teacher, the subject. It stays in the same place, right? Let's take away a'ole. Let's make like it's not there and just look at it. If it said ke, then it would be ke ho'i nei ke kumu I ka hale. The teacher is returning to the house. And when we use ke action nei, we know as we're talking this thing is happening because this is the present tense. Okay? But in the negative, all it is a matter of putting a'ole at the front of your sentence, turn ke to e, so that we have a'ole e ho'i nei ke kumu I ka hale. We don't see the subject move, okay? The only time you see the subject move is when it's a pronoun. So easy, yes? So ma'alahi. You're sitting there going, yeah, wait, whatever. Okay, let's just review the negative sentence, okay? A'oleo I hele I ka pa'ina. A'oleo I hele I ka pa'ina, okay? And this says what? I didn't go to the party. Now, we have had this in the lessons past, and we have said this over and over again, okay? A'oleo I hele I ka pa'ina. I didn't go to the party. And in this case, we have a pronoun subject. It pops up in the front. But in this case, we keep the the subject in the same place. Why? Because it's not a pronoun subject. It's a common noun. It's just a thing. Okay, so a'ole I ho'i ke kumu I kahale. Okay, a'ole I ho'i ke kumu I kahale. Okay, enough negativity for now. Let's go on to a different pattern. This one is called stative causative. You know, if you get blown away by these big names, don't even worry about them, because you could call them Harold or Fred for all I care. Main thing, you know what it does, okay? So let's just take a look at this part. Ua pa'a kapuka, the door is shut, the door is shut, okay? Ua pa'a kapuka. And how did the door get shut? I kamakani. You see how you bring in the cause with I, okay? So here is how the puka stay, okay? So you just look at this part, stay, cause, okay? Maybe that'll help you, all right? Does the door stay shut? Okay, and what was the cause? Because the wind, okay, I kamakani. So isn't this a cool sentence? Okay, this is not hard. Ua pa'akapuka I kamakani. We don't have something like this in English. We gotta say this long sentence. But in Hawaiian, you give you tell how something is, how something stay, and then you put in your I, and then you tell how come, the cause, okay? Ua pa'akapuka I kamakani. Let's take another look at another example. Ua kaumaha ke keiki. Ua kaumaha ke keiki. The child is what? Kaumaha. Sad. Okay? Kaumaha is also heavy, and you know, actually, the second part wouldn't work if we used heavy. Okay? So the child is sad. Ua kaumaha ke keiki. Ikaua. Ikaua. Okay? Please make sure you're not saying ikaua. There's no okina over here, so the word is kaua. Kaua, not kaua. Okay, hear the difference? Kaua, kaua. Okay, kaua, the rain. So what? The child is sad because of the rain. Okay. Yeah, well, you know, not all children are sad because of the rain, but if you want to go out and play, you can be real sad when it's raining. Okay. Wa kaumaha ke keiki I kaua. See how you can tell whether this meant sad or heavy? You wouldn't say the child is heavy because of the rain, unless their clothes soaked up all that water and you tried to carry. Never mind, it's a long story. Okay, but you know, you get the idea. You have to like get into the context of this sentence so that you can understand which mana'o you're using. In this case, kaumaha would mean sad. You know? Okay, how about another pattern, okay? Equationals. What are equationals? It means that something is something. That didn't make any sense, but that's okay. Let's take a look, okay? O'oi, in this case, you, okay? Kawahine ake aloha. You are the woman of love, okay? And you may recognize this from the song, the Dennis Kamakahi song, Puahone, yeah? O'oi kawahine ake aloha, yeah? You are the woman of love. What a beautiful way he opened that song. That was his proposal to his wife. And he opened it with the words, O'oi kawahine ake aloha, okay? So if you're wahine, you want to tell your kane, you know, O'oi ke kane ake aloha. Okay, so anyway, it's a beautiful, beautiful line. And the thing is, it's a very simple line, you know, where you can understand that. Like I said before in another lesson, you know, as you're listening to songs, you might go, hey, wow, I'm really getting this stuff. I hope so, okay? O'oi kawahine ake aloha. Let's take a look at another example of an equational. Oia kahaumana akamai loa. So you see how oia is one part, and he is, or she, okay, is the very smart haumana student, okay? And you notice that the position of the adjective or the word that's describing this noun is behind, okay? That's how we do it in Hawaiian. He or she is the very smart student. You see how this is one part of the sentence and it equals out to the other side of the sentence. Another example, o pualei ke kaikamahine ui. O pualei ke kaikamahine ui. Okay, pualei is what? The beautiful girl. O pualei ke kaikamahine ui. Okay. O ke la ke keiki kane eleu. O ke la ke keiki kane eleu. Okay, that, okay, is the what? The eleu boy. Okay, eleu, not to be confused with elelu, which is cockroach, okay? Eleu refers to a quick person. You know, the kind of person who, when got dishes in the sink, they just stand up and wash the dishes. You don't know anybody like that? Yeah, me too. Okay, eleu, the kind of person who just gets up and does things, you know, like the kind of crew we have here when we work, okay? These people are just eleu. They see something got to be done, everybody just gets to it and does it. It's wonderful, okay? Eleu. Eleu is a good word, okay? And I don't know why, you know, but plenty of people name their dogs eleu. Why name the dog eleu? Okay, eleu is good for people too, okay? Eleu is a good word. It means quick, you know, someone who just gets to it, okay? Eleu. Now, look at this. O kela kekeiki kane eleu. The neat thing about equationals is that because it's equal on both sides, you can switch them around like this. O kekeiki kane eleu kela. O kekeiki kane eleu kela. And it means the same thing, except that more emphasis is put on the quick boy. But you see how equationals can go two sides, okay? But not with the pronouns. Pronouns, they're always up in the front. I told you about them guys. They're Nieli people. Last one of the equational examples. O ku'uipo ke la kane no hea. O ku'uipo ke la kane no hea. That handsome guy is my sweetheart, okay? But it starts off with, my sweetheart is that handsome guy, okay? I can say this all the time, okay? O ku'uipo ke la kane no hea. O ku'ukane ke la kane no hea. Okay, and of course this can be switched, right? O ke la kane no hea, ku'uipo. Okay, you're pointing out, o ke la kane no hea, ku'uipo. Yeah, when other wahine are checking out your kane, you can tell, o ke la kane no hea, ku'uipo. Ku'ukane, and don't you forget it, okay? Anyway, these are different patterns that you could use, and hopefully we've done a good enough review so that all of the things that we've been going over from 13 to 19, we've covered all the main things, and it makes it easier for you, okay? And it gets pa'a. Now let's go through some things that you need to remember, okay? In the negative pattern, the present tense marker changes from K verb ne to A verb ne. Like this, ke hia moe nei oi, turns to a ole oi e hia moe nei, okay? In the negative tense pattern, the pronoun subject always jumps up to be pili with a ole, and I know you saw this before in our last show, in our last lesson, but no hurt to see them again. Ua hia moe oi, a ole oi I hia moe, okay? So now I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to think about what you would say in this situation. Ike ia kakahiaka e hele ana maua o ka uhoaloha I ke kula. Aka, you notice how I mixed the English and the Hawaiian. That's so that you know that although you can't say the whole thing in Hawaiian, you can say it in English, okay, when you get stuck. Ike ia kakahiaka e hele ana maua o ka uhoaloha I ke kula. Aka, I don't have a car. How do I tell her that I will not drive to school today? Okay, so this is your little homework right now. Okay, this is not homework you turn in later. This is homework you make sure you got right after the vignette. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, and after that we'll go straight into our vignette to make sure that you understand what's going on. Hikino? Okay, ahui ho.
E, aloha mai e kalama.
E kunare, e noho ana I ke ia hale.
Ai, ka nani o ki a hale. Pea, ua ike oi kou lumi.
A ole e hele ana au I ke ia manawa. E hele puka ua.
Pono wau e kali a ke ave, o ia ko uho lumi.
O ke ave mai maui.
Ai, oia no. Pea, kama aina oia ia.
E, kama aina ui ai, am no ka mea, ua paani pōpeku kana ki me i ka uki me. Kanaka ho'o make aka loa oia.
A aka mai loa oia ke kahi.
Oia ka,
Ai.
mana o au pololi wale no oia.
Ai, aka mai oia i ka make makika. Ina he piliki a kou, ko kua oia ia oe.
Mai ka i ke la, no ka mea, nui ko pilikia makapapa maki makika. Maki maki au i ke kōkua. E ke kahi, o kona kaikua ana, o ia ka ukumu pilika naka. Kula ki eki, e o anue noe.
O moke.
Ea. Pehe oi i kama aina e ke ave.
Ua hele mau i ka punana leo like. A maope i kona noho ana ma maui, ki pa mau ko ohana i kona ohana mao. No leila, ano pili maua. Pea, o vai kou hoa lumi.
A ole au ike, lohe au, he kanaka ko o kani pila oia. O uluwehi, kona inua.
Uluwehi o vai. Hele oia ki kula kaya puni hea.
A ole oia i hele ki kula kaya puni, he makua oia. Hele oia i manoa e a o i ka olelo Hawai'i.
E aha, he makua oia. A e noho ana oia makahale noho hao mana.
Ai, maki oia e a o pono i ka olelo makua hile.
Maika i ke la. Au e noho ana oe me ka makua. Aloha ino oe.
Yeah, a ole pilikia.
Aloha mai. Kala mai. Lohi au. O hele o i ka hale ku ai.
Au e ke ave he hake nā mau mea.
O ke ia ka umea ai mama. Ike oe, pono o e mālama i ku ukino ika.
Au e, hau oliva o wau ko hoa lumi. Kama aina oe i akalama.
Ai, aloha, pehe oe.
Oia mau no, o oe.
Makaukau no au, na ke kula, a me na wahine ui.
Pono oe ho o paa haa vina.
Mai e hopo. O ka mea mua, aia mahea ka lumi kuki.
Ale wau ike ua kali wau ia oe.
O lohe o nani loa na lumi maki i hale.
Ai, ua lawe mai au i ka umau ki'i o ku Kulāiwi o hilo.
O hilo i ka ua kani lewe.
Hilo hana kahi i ka ua kani lehua.
Ai, kohala i ka makani apa. Aloha mai.
Aloha.
E au, ko hoa lumi.
Aloha no.
Aloha no. I really do hope that the second time you watch, you go, oh yeah, that was my kai. Mahalo tu mamohao no ku'ulole nani loa. Nā kia kua e ho'opo mai ka ia oko. And until our next lesson, number 21, ahui ho aku. Aloha.